How's it going, guys? It's another beautiful cloudy day in the Sacramento Valley, California, and today we're going to continue with our fruit tree pruning project. If you recall, last time we finished off the project with the white mulberry, and I said in that video that would continue with the Himalayan mulberry next time. So today we're going to address that, but before we get to that, we're going to do a few easier trees or a few fruit trees that require much less of a pruning in comparison to the Himalayan mulberry, and we'll probably end the today's project with that. But one thing I got to say is that we also have a white mulberry in our backyard. And the nursery from which I purchased that particular tree claimed that it's a fruiting variety, but it turned out to be the complete opposite. This is a flowering mulberry, but what we're going to do today is to prune that quite aggressively, turn that pretty much into a rootstock, and then to that we're going to graft a few cuttings from the Himalayan mulberry. I'll probably make a separate video on that, and I'll show you guys my favorite grafting technique, which is grafting onto the bark, or I think it's called the cleft grafting. So we'll make a separate video on that. I'm also brewing a cup of tea at the same time, but I have to earn the right to drink that cup of tea. So I have to do the pruning first and complete the project, and then I'll pour myself a nice cup of black tea. And thank you very much for being with me this time. What we're going to start the project with today is this beautiful Tomcot Apricot. As you can see, the top branches are growing pretty aggressively, so those will have to be removed. As far as the center is pretty much open, so I don't necessarily have to worry about that. So one thing I want to tell you is that there are a couple of considerations that you want to have in mind when you approach a tree for pruning purposes. And one is to remove the top branches, keep the size manageable, and or I should say remove any kind of branch that doesn't necessarily result in fruiting wood. And the other thing is to open the center, so to allow air circulation into the system. And so those two things are probably the most important factors that you want to take into account when you prune a fruit tree. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and prune all these top branches, and I'll let you watch. Thank you. Now, as you can see, it looks far better than it did just a few minutes ago. So in a matter of 5 minutes or so, we managed to bring the size down quite remarkably. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to get a pretty good fruit set out of this beautiful Tomcot apricot this year. So this is the mulberry that I was telling you that it turned out to be a flowery mulberry as opposed to being a fruity mulberry, which I was interested in. But what we're going to do with this is to basically cut this down to a small size and basically turn this into a rootstock for a Himalayan mulberry. So as I said in my next video, I plan to do is to graft a few cuttings from the Himalayan mulberry onto this, and hopefully we'll get a beautiful fruit set out of this in the next few years. So. So I intentionally left that branch right there so we can keep track of how the tree actually performs in the springtime, and also to keep the tree alive and keep all the nutrients moving at the same time. So, but pretty much this is ready for the grafting project that we're going to do next time. So I'll make a video on that when I perform that action. And yeah, so what I'm going to do now is to clean up a little bit and then move on to the Himalayan mulberry, with which we're going to end this episode. Thank you. Now, this is the majestic Himalayan mulberry that I've been referring to in my past video and also in this video. So we're going to do some pruning on this one. Again, you can see that we have all those top branches that are pretty much the bane of my existence. So what I'm going to do is to prune those down and cut them off, and then turn them into compost, hopefully. So this is pretty much all the pruning that I've done for today. As you can see, it's quite a bit. So what I will do for the remainder of the day is to basically cut these into smaller pieces and turn them into either compost or put them in the green waste. But the last thing you want to do is to leave everything behind and come back to it later, because it becomes a little bit discouraging. Next time when you come around and you want to do your fruit tree pruning, all of a sudden you discover this pile of mess that you've left behind from last time. So it's best to do everything in just one day, do your pruning and then do the cleanup and on the same day. So you'll be in a pretty good shape afterwards. So yeah, thank you very much for watching my video. In the meantime, I want to go and enjoy a cup of tea. I'll see you next time when I do the grafting of the red mulberry with cuttings from the Himalayan mulberry. Take care. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.